Hello YouTube, Chris Mystery Cleaning, Cleaning's the Fylde Coast once again. So I wanted to drop a quick video today about having a livery put on your van, spreading the gospel that is window cleaning in your local area, etc. And you know, is it worth doing? You know, should you consider putting a livery on your vehicle? You know, discuss kind of thing. So yeah, when I very first got my van, January 2015, January the 7th 2015, it was a plain silver van, no livery on it, nothing that special about it. I didn't have a tank system, I just had a little trolley that I put in the back of it. Yeah, and it was a pretty nondescript, it was a nice van, but a nondescript van. And so by March I had pretty much made up my mind that, you know, I kind of ummed and ahed about it from January to sort of March. I got a price about having the livery phone number, website, or at the time just the phone number and details, etc. on the van, and the price at the time was £700. So I agonised over it for a little bit. Again, bear in mind, it's early days in my business. I'm still doing a few jobs for the Army Reserve. I'm not quite got a full rota. I'm 3 months in. I'm probably doing about 4 days a week on the windows, and then, you know, 1 day a week as an Army recruiter. So I still, you know, needed a bit of convincing, to be honest with you. And I had a friend of mine, local. I made friends with a local business owner, and we talked a bit about, you know, the value of having a livery put on the side of the van, and he pretty much convinced me to get it done. So with 700 quid, which I didn't have, I kind of spoke to my mum about it, and, you know, as a bit of a gift stroke loan, you know, type effort, my mum very kindly lent me £700 to get the livery done. I was a bit nervous about it, to be honest with you. Again, you know, you hear horror stories all the time, don't you? Small businesses making errors, and it ultimately, you know, brings the whole operation come crashing down, sort of thing. So, you know, anyway, I got it done. I'll leave a link in the description. I got it done from Autograhix. They're based on Poulton-le-Fylde industrial estate near me. Cracking little operation. Ian is an absolute diamond. They did the full design, the full sort of spec, if you like. We talked about, you know, placement and everything like that. I'd already had a logo drawn up by a friend of mine for 130 quid, you know, and, you know, and all that sort of good stuff. A good friend of mine that I grew up with, and yeah, we set to it. So, you know, anyway, you know, I had that logo on the van, and I was a bit like, well, is it going to work? Is it going to generate more business? Is it not? I had the van parked up on the driveway of the house we were living in, which is my mother-in-law's house, on Seven Oaks Drive in Blackpool. If you're from the area, if you know, you know. And yeah, basically it was parked on the driveway for all the world to see. Within a week of having that livery put on the vehicle, I got a phone call from a local business network that wanted to sort of, you know, invite me along to meetings, etc., to sort of chat, network with other business owners around the Fylde Coast. And yeah, and at that meeting I met more business owners. I met people that have been in business a lot longer than me. I met Mark Prince, who does my health and safety. You know, I met Danny Prince, who's a good friend of mine, runs Prince's Plumbing. So, you know, it was a good, you know, pathway, if you like, into sort of, you know, meeting other people, other business owners. And here's the thing, is that when this networking company rang up, they wanted a quote. What they said to me says, well, we're looking for legitimate businesses that are wanting to grow, and we just wondered if you fancy coming along just to meet a few other business owners from the local area, see if we can increase your workload, etc., and meet new people. So I was like, well, yeah, I'm all over that. But I only got invited to that because I had a nice liveried, clean vehicle on my drive, etc., and I had the image of a professional business. If I had a plain silver van, even if it was nice and clean with no dents in it and all that sort of good stuff, I probably wouldn't have got invited to that networking group. And as a result, I may never have met, or may have taken longer to meet other people that run businesses in the local area and gain more work and all that kind of good stuff. So, I hear other business owners saying, well, it's not really worth getting a livery put on your vehicle. I do know that from my days when I was doing rubbish removal, and I had my waste carrier's license and all that good stuff. I do know that if you had a livery on your vehicle, if you had decals on your vehicle, you weren't allowed to dump certain waste at the local tip without paying some money, handing some money over. So a lot of business owners that are in that area of work have a plain van so that they can just dump waste without having to pay additional costs and charges, And again, I don't want to sort of, pick a fight with anyone that's not got a liveried van. I'm just saying is that people's attitudes towards you change dramatically. At least in my experience, they treat you differently. If you have a liveried vehicle or a number of liveried vehicles, you have that aura of a respectable, legitimate business. You're not just a guy with a van, you know what I mean? You're a business owner. And it's funny because I remember I was so proud of having my livery put on the vehicle and all that sort of good stuff. I drove to my mum's house in Bolton, so I drove across Lancashire just to show her the van. I was so proud of it, so pleased with it. And it's funny because my mum, she how can I put this? She said basically that, when you got into your van, when there was no livery on it, it was just a van. You know what I mean? But when you had a livery on that vehicle, it screamed business owner. And I think part of that may have rubbed off on me because I started looking at my business. I'm not saying that guys that don't have liveries on their vehicles don't take their business seriously. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is because I think there's subconsciously I had a livery on my vehicle, I had a brand, I had a logo, and I took myself as a business owner far more seriously because of it. And I think as a direct result of me taking myself seriously, other people, potential customers, members of the public, passers-by that saw the vehicle and or would take a photograph of the side of the vehicle just to get the phone number so they could give me a call in the evening and all that sort of good stuff. They took me more seriously because I had a livery on the vehicle. Now, it is quite a chunky expense, especially when you're very first starting up. And if it's your plan just to be that one-man band, that one-man operation, to do as much work as you can physically do in a single day, then you have to weigh up whether or not it's worth putting a livery on your vehicle. If it's your aim to grow a big business, the best and quickest and fastest way I find of growing that business is to ultimately create awareness as to what you do. And part of that should be that no matter where my vehicle, for example, with my business, no matter where my vehicles go, if it's parked up outside someone's house and they can see Adam with the water-fed pole, or Carl or Paul, there's no ambiguities as to, what we do. We're residential and commercial window cleaners. We do jet washing, we do this, we do that, we do the other. How do they know that? It says it on the back of the van. You know, there's a website there. And again, all of this, having a website, having a livery on the vehicle, having your phone number on the side, on the door of your vehicle, and all this sort of stuff, it creates that that image of a professional business owner, someone that doesn't just work, you know, work from a van, someone that ultimately takes what they do extremely seriously. And if you can be seen to be taking what you do seriously, and seen to be taking yourself seriously, then other people will fall into line. You know, it's not just an ego boost. It does genuinely, in my experience, it does you know, get my brand out there, get my business known in the area. And many a time I've been to quote a lady's windows, etc., and they go, "Oh, I've seen your vans around." And I went to I'm rambling on a little bit, but before I go, I went to another networking event in Kirkham, which is up the road from where I live, and I met a guy called Steve Logan who helped me scale and grow my business. A really, really intelligent guy, knows his onions about marketing, knows what he's talking about sales and all this sort of stuff. Someone that, you know, I respect deeply, and we are good friends to this day. But when I met him, he said to me, "Oh, S3 Cleaning, I've seen your vans on the road." And I said to him, "Well, I've only got one van." And he says, "Well, that's your first mistake." And I was a bit like, "Well, how do you mean that's my first mistake?" He says, "I've already said I've seen your vans on the road. In my head, I think you are a bigger operation than what you already are." You know, so it just goes to show, just from having one van that's liveried, and if it's been seen around a wide area as to where you live, you know what I mean? My van at the time, when I very first got it, before I got any other vehicles, we were cleaning windows in Lytham, we were cleaning windows in Poulton, we were cleaning windows in Cleveland, in Blackpool, you know, Preston, and all that sort of good stuff, long before I got a second vehicle. So it gets known, it gets seen, it gets recognised, and people will start associating this brand with me, with window cleaning. You know what I mean? And then, you know, your biggest task of trying to bring work into the business, it's been half done for you. £700 at the time was a lot of money, and now, to be fair, with inflation, etc., I've just had the van I'm sat in liveried about 3 weeks ago, and it was close to £1,000. But that's £1,000 that I'll pay once, that every time I turn the key in the vehicle, every time I drive to a job, every time I drive to a quote, every time we go to a job, every time we go up and down the motorway, every time I'm at a set of traffic lights, every time I'm sat in a car park having my lunch, it's out there in the world for everybody to see, and everybody can see the van, and they might not necessarily be looking for my service, but many a time I've been sat in a car park having my lunch between jobs, and people have come, you know, tapped on the window, etc., and said, "Oh, can I just grab a card off you?" You know what I mean? If you were sat in your nondescript silver, white, black, purple with yellow spots vehicle, etc., with no brand on it, would people approach you to try and get a card off you? No, they wouldn't, because you're not separating yourself from every other white van, every other silver van, every other non-liveried vehicle out there. It's just a vehicle. So yeah, anyway, food for thought. You know, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that having a livery on a vehicle helps boost sales? Do you think it's worth a worthwhile expenditure, etc.? I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on the subject. And as usual, given this glorious sunshine, I'm going to be enjoying the rest of my afternoon, and wish you all a very happy, productive and prosperous week. Keep on keeping on. See you in the next one. All the very best.